Two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
Reckless speculation. Reckless speculation.
Hello and happy Reckless Speculation Thursday to all who celebrate. It's a scoop session Thursday with our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. We can definitely sprinkle in some reckless speculation here throughout this episode, but you literally just got off the phone. In fact, we had to wait and delay this recording because you just got off the phone with Tom Crean, legendary college basketball coach, the coach who helped cultivate Dwayne Wade in the early 2000s and the coach who helped cultivate Anthony Edwards at age 18 in college. So, Doogie, the floor is yours. What did you learn from Tom Crean today?
Well, happy Reckless Speculation Thursday, by the way. I am pro that petition. The idea was circulated on Twitter, Phil. So whenever I can sign that petition to get you whatever it is, off the airwaves, whatever it is, whatever it entails.
We're trying to ban me from Minnesota sports. Yeah.
Podcast.
Yeah. Because I was critical about Cat 2 years ago.
Yeah. Maybe we throw you back to Seattle, whatever. I'm pro that petition. So let me get
still
that
there,
out
I think.
Yeah. So on Tom, it was a Zoom chat. So I'll have the video out there later today, or at least at some point in the next 24 hours. Gold. I put the quarter in the machine, and I just sat back. He reminded me, I actually forgot about this. Anthony Edwards reclassified. So he should have been a senior in high school when he was a freshman at Georgia. Now, we're seeing that a lot now. Like Cooper Flagg will play for Duke next season. He reclassified. Guys reclassify. But just a reminder, you think about Anthony Edwards being only 22 in year 4, won't be 23 until August. This goes back to he played his 1 year in Athens, Georgia for the Georgia Bulldogs for Tom when he should have been a senior in high school. But Tom is so proud of just the maturation on the court. Off the court, there's still some maturing going on, right? But the teammates have always loved him, even going back to his AAU days, his high school days in Atlanta. He's always had this quality about him to deflect to teammates. The first thing you see Anthony post-game on the court, interview TNT, at the podium, whatever it is, he's always first words out of his mouth, Jaden this, Cat that, Rudy this, Mike that, right? He's always had that. Tom told me always has been an excellent teammate. Tom said the one thing that he had to work through, and he only had such a limited time. In fact, that season got cut a little bit short because of COVID, right? So he only had 32 games. And hey, Tom said it was a process, right? We only won 16 games. We lost 16 games. Now, he thought he would have Nick Claxton back, who was the first pick of the second round. So he understood why Nick left, but he thought he would have Nick, who's a really good player now with the Brooklyn Nets. He thought he would have Nick with Anthony. And he had 7 freshmen on that team. So there was a lot of navigating an entirely new roster, right? And so Tom said, hey, there's some things he could have done differently, but he's so proud of the maturation on the court in terms of Anthony predetermined a lot of shots. That first year, a lot of predetermination. They were playing Chaminade in the Maui Invitational. He said they won, final second, something like that. Anthony knew all along he was taking the shot no matter what, but the way Anthony now processes the game, that's the thing that sticks out to Tom the most, even just in the last couple of years, the ascension, because if you go back 2 years ago, the Memphis playoff series, Anthony was really good, right? Mm-hmm. Then he takes another leap last year, another leap this year. We see last night he finishes 7th in MVP voting. We know that Anthony Edwards is going to be all NBA. It's just a matter of, is he second team or third team? Don't think he'll be first team, but maybe he will be first team. So that means that Supermax will turn into, or that rookie max, right? He'll get the max, right? It'll turn into, however we want to determine, the naming of it, super, whatever it is. It'll go from 207 million to 260 million the second he's announced in the coming weeks. He's all NBA. But Tom is just so proud of just the ascension, even going back to 2 years ago. But just the way he now involves his teammates, he doesn't pout. He has, maybe a shaky first half, and it doesn't dictate how he plays the rest of the game. We can count any number of examples where Anthony maybe doesn't have a great first half, but the next thing you know, he's scoring 14 points or 18 points in the third quarter. So it was a fascinating conversation. It's great to now have that relationship with Tom.
Dukes, to go back to that draft too, and in your conversation with Crean, what did he talk about, and combined with what you recall about that draft as well? Because I feel like now it's getting more and more. Well, of course it was going to be Ant. There was no question about Ant, but that was Ant, Ball, and Wiseman. Ball was the rookie of the year. I remember specifically, in particular, you thought Wiseman was outstanding. So what did Crean say about that draft process? Because I think we are now selectively trying to say, well, Ant's a star, so of course, when I don't think at the time that was the case.
Yeah, I mean, guilty as charged. I mean, I'm on the record, right? I mean, I've hit on some, I've missed on some. I said I would have taken James Wiseman. I liked the idea in that moment of Cat being the 4, bringing in a 5-man, right? I missed on who that 5-man.
Apologize, Doogie.
Yeah, I know. Get out of the market.
I think
leave the market.
You take the kids.
Yeah. Speaking of petition,
Droogie can go to St. Louis and play.
You go to Seattle.
Out of this market. Yes, Phil. It's not you that needs to leave. It's me.
No, both of you need to leave. It's the Declan Judd show now.
Yes.
Hey everybody, go teams.
Absolutely, Sports Dad, you're spot on. Tom said, the most correspondence he had pre-draft. Now that was a weird pre-draft process, right? COVID. That draft was in November of 2020. It wasn't the normal June draft, that year. So it was a weird pre-draft process to begin with. But Tom said the most correspondence he had was with Charlotte, not Minnesota. But Tom did say he spoke a lot with Scott Layden, not with Gerson Rosas, like not Gerson at all, and also Ryan Saunders. Like Tom and Ryan have an excellent relationship. So yes, ultimately Gerson makes the call, but let's not sleep on Scott, plus certainly Ryan, right? Bring it full circle how Anthony is now trying to eliminate Ryan, probably will here, whether it's Sunday or maybe it bleeds into next week, a game 5 or even a game 6, but certainly looks like the Wolves are going to move on to the Western Conference Finals, beat Ryan Saunders and the Denver Nuggets. Ryan certainly had a lot to do with Anthony Edwards ultimately being that number 1 pick.
Okay, let's transition to some reckless Anthony Edwards speculation here, if we could.
Reckless speculation.
I heard, by the way, if you haven't heard it yet, because now a lot of these national shows are talking a ton of Timberwolves. So like Bill Simmons open monologued the first 30 minutes of his podcast yesterday about Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves and just where this thing could be headed for the franchise, and then kind of the Denver side of things too. And one of the side streets he went down was, there's an opening now, just like there was after Michael Jordan left the league, just like there was, if you want to go way back, there was the Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain era that kind of wrapped in the early 70s. Then we had a little bit of a dead period for a few years, and then Bird Magic era, and then that kind of blended into the Jordan era. Then there was a little bit of a gap, but we had Kobe Shaq. There's the Kobe Shaq Duncan era, then the LeBron Kobe, LeBron Steph. But now the LeBron Steph era is coming to an end in some form. They're still going to play next year, but it's too early playoff exits the last couple of years. So now there's another opening for a new era in the NBA, and Anthony Edwards is one of the potential figures that could rise up. I mean, Giannis, Jokic, obviously, with 3 MVPs in the last 4 years, but I guess recklessly speculate for us, with the LeBron Steph era coming to an end, what are the chances that Anthony Edwards, if we go fast forward 20 years from now, we look back and say it was Anthony Edwards that actually picked up the torch as the face of the league, Timberwolves as the team of the league? I know it's kind of crazy to even say that, but speculate for us, Doogie.
Well, I mean, he's certainly in the conversation, Phil. Now, will he be the guy, or will it be Wemby, or will it be Cooper Flagg, who you'll see at Duke, who I think is going to be a phenomenal NBA player? Or will it be a kid who's a sophomore in high school right now? Carlos Boozer's son is already being projected as an unreal pro, right? So, I can't tell you it's going to be Anthony. Could be Luka, could be Jason Tatum, right? There's a bunch of guys. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right? There are a lot of guys in that mix, but we have to have Anthony in this conversation. He absolutely can be that guy. And right now in the moment, right? He's got his own shoe. You look at all the interactions on social media platforms. The NBA put out a note the other day. Isn't Anthony either 1 or 2? Maybe LeBron was 1, Anthony 2, but the world is paying attention to Anthony Edwards. And hey, OKC could offer a roadblock in the Western Conference Finals, or perhaps Dallas, but like June 6th, game 1, NBA Finals. Like, it's entirely possible Anthony is going to be on the biggest stage possible. Wolves against, I think, Boston, but maybe New York. But think about, like, okay, he's at this level right now. Let's fast forward 2.5 weeks to June 6th and imagine the level he'll be at. So he certainly can be one of those guys. Still only, again, reminder, only 22 years old. Imagine where he'll be as a player at 26 or 27.
This conversation, though, to me also, while yes, it's very important about your skills, I feel like in 2024, this conversation transcends that to a point of personality.
That's why Tatum's not it.
Right. And like, Magic.
But the rings may come with Jason, right? And so if Boston can win a couple here in the next 3
sure,
years, that's where Jason could elevate.
And that's not saying, Dukes, that he's not a great player. But my point is, if we're talking like face of the league, I think it takes a certain dynamic personality as well. I think it takes a guy that looks like he wants to kill his opponent, but you love him and you don't know why. Again, to me, it's Puckett-like. Like, people loved Kirby. They gravitated towards him. So Anthony Edwards has that certain on the court it factor, which is essential in this conversation. But I also think he has an off the court it factor that makes him a very, very special player. And so that's where I could see him, if he continues to have this success, of course, that's where I could see him picking up this torch and taking it, because I'm sorry, Shea seems like a heck of a player, but that What a Pro Once commercial is god awful. Ant's commercials are funnier. They're more out there as far as accessibility. So I'm just saying, I think this conversation crosses a line that goes far beyond, are you just a great player? The rings are very important, but so is the personality.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you see him make the three the other night, then he does the Jordan shrug.
Yeah, it's
right?
great.
Like, he gets it. So yes, like, can it be Anthony? It 100% can be Anthony. By the way, Tom and I are now best of friends. He's texting me. That was fun. So my last question was about NIL, right? And just, Elijah Hawkins in early April, pledges his allegiance to be back with the Gophers. And next thing you know, an agent gets involved. And now Elijah Hawkins is at Texas Tech. He gave me like a 6 or 7 minute long answer, but it was fantastic. But he even apologized for being long-winded.
Wow.
He wants to make it clear.
Wait, someone apologized to you?
That he loves Ben.
For being long-winded?
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, my God.
Wait, we should have known. A Crean Doogie interview is going to have about 3 questions and go 42 minutes.
I just love it. But he wanted to make it clear that Ben is his guy. Like, Tom and Ben have an excellent relationship. And, he realizes, he said, he laid it out. It's what we've talked about, but it was good to hear confirmation from somebody in the belly of the beast, or used to be in the belly of the beast and has all the contacts that Tom has, that the Gophers are just painfully behind. Hey, credit to Dinkytown Collective. They're doing everything they can.
They're trying.
They are far ahead now compared to where they were a year ago. But, like, you compare them to so many other Big Ten programs, and he said there's a larger disparity in the Big Ten compared to the Big 12 or SEC. Like, to Tom, it is glaring, like the haves and the have-nots, the separation in the Big Ten. And, hey, that's just what Ben Johnson is dealing with. But Tom wanted to make it clear, like, you look at Cam Christie's development, Pharrell Payne's development, Elijah Hawkins' development, that Ben, his staff know exactly what they're doing. Tom wants Ben here for a really long time.
Yeah. Let's just some more Timberwolves stuff here. We can get into the rest of your scoop bag. But just this atmosphere is shaping up to be one of the most electric in Minneapolis on Friday night and Sunday. And we're not even halfway through the playoffs yet, by the way. But on Friday night, the Timberwolves have partnered with 11 different bars around like the 1 mile radius of Target Center for official watch parties. And then I know that there's at least a couple of breweries out there. Falling Knife is doing a thing with Dane Moore and Kyle Teige tonight, but they always do watch parties. I think Head Flyers doing, like, there's all these different watch parties. Park Tavern, I was at one a couple games ago, Park Tavern. So you've got the world, the sports world, descending upon Minneapolis. I guess you've been covering sports in this town for two and a half decades. just the vibe that we're about to experience here. Can you put it into context?
And there's been this buildup. Like you could argue, hey, it was a good atmosphere downtown, in the metro, heck, the entire state, the region, going back to October, right? When the Twins play the Blue Jays, they win their first playoff series in 2 decades, right? But that happened so fast. There's this long buildup. What was the date of Game 2 against Phoenix? Has there ever been this sort of separation?
April 28?
Between home games? So April 20, no, it was earlier than that, right? Because Game 1 was a Saturday. I was in Des Moines with Doogie.
It was the
like
26th.
April 20th.
26th,
wasn't Game 2? No, wasn't Game 2 like April 22nd or April 23rd?
It's a long time
Maybe
ago.
the 24th.
What was the Friday night after the first round of the draft? That was the first road game in Phoenix? And that was the 26th.
That was. So was Game 2, Declan, can you look it up? What was Game 2 of the Wolves-Sun series? I know Game 1 was April 20th, okay?
Oh, man.
So Game 2 was that Monday or Tuesday?
Like
the 22nd?
3-week difference.
Or 23rd? April 23rd. So we're going from April 23rd to May 10th. Has there ever been this sort of separation between home playoff games in NBA history? Maybe, but this is crazy. So, Phil, it's been this incredible buildup. People are so jacked up to finally have another home playoff game. I do recall 04. Like, there were block parties. They shut down the street in front of Glick's. Like, it was rocking pretty good. Remember, the Wolves had home court advantage, so they hosted Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals.
Downtown.
So I can just tell you, like late May of 2004, 20 years ago, I remember how rocking downtown was. But now it's comparable. I mean, it's close. I can tell you that much. And hey, if they ultimately beat Denver, which I think they will, and they end up in the Western Conference Finals, let's say it's Game 3. If they end up meeting OKC, so it's Game 3, Western Conference Finals. The way the Wolves are rolling, I don't think they're coming home down 2-0. So maybe it's 1-1 or they're up 2-0. Like that pregame atmosphere in downtown before a Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals, I think that would actually exceed what I recall from Game 1, pregame Game 1 against the Lakers in 2004.
And what exists here is the opportunity of some sort for an exorcism of men's sports in this town. Like that's the nice thing. It's been so long. And the Wolves are, so I would say this, despite the Twins' success a year ago, the playoff loss streak was so long that it was just like a breath of fresh air that they won a game. And I don't think the Astros series like hurt them a lot. Like, I don't think fans were like, well, damn it, they lost. The Wolves are in an interesting position here because this is sort of a confirmation of how good they truly are. Like, I think we all knew that they were good. I don't think we truly knew that they were this good. And so there is I'm sorry, fans, but there's a legitimate excitement that this team has a real chance. And yes, we're always going to be afraid that Lucy's going to pull the football out from us. But that being said, when you watch this team, they are destroying the Nuggets. It's not oh boy, we just got by the Blue Jays. It is a destruction of the defending champs. So like this is rare air here. This is real rare air.
I mean, heck, Judd, do we have to go back to like the early 80s, one of those North Star teams, when we've seen a male team here in town dominate like this? We've seen series wins, but pure domination.
Somebody pointed out, and it's not a bad point, in 87, the ALCS against the Tigers, that was an aging Tigers team, and everyone favored them. But that was a good Twins team, especially here at the Dome. And they started to sort of roll past the Tigers. And I was like, oh, hold on a second. This team's really pretty good. Like, this team's more. So, but yeah, it's a long time ago. And I would say in the 2000s, we've never seen this. The Wild made a run to the Western Conference Finals in 2003, but that was a total unexpected expansion team upstart thing. The Twins,
and those were Game 7 victories. Like, those were long series. Like, I'm just talking pure domination.
I know.
Right? When you win Game 2 without Rudy, right? The way you did. The double-digit victories against Phoenix. Like, they haven't been compromised, really, outside of 84-84 for a hot second in Game 1 against Denver. Then Nas goes on the run, right? Like, they haven't been in a tough spot through 6 games. And it's a reminder of what we talked about on Tuesday, how quickly it flipped. right? Yes, the Wolves were the number 1 seed in the West for a good portion of nearly 5 months. So we knew how good they were. But it all, well, not all, but it seemed in a lot of ways came crashing down on April 14th, regular season finale, when Phoenix waxes them, right? And like the 1 seed was still in play, and they fall all the way down to 3. Then it was doom and gloom based on the regular season games that this was the worst possible scenario, Wolves against Phoenix. So it flipped so fast from April 14th to where we are now on May 9th.
When this series wraps up, you should go in and ask about that game, because for Chris Finch, it must have been a dream. You get waxed in a meaningful game, but it's not going to end you, right? And you now have like a week to say, okay, boys, you thought you were great, didn't you? Didn't you? Mm-hmm. That's a great story. I think that one game from a coaching, I think it's why Finch wasn't that pissed off. It's the great, what would have been, or what's a better teaching moment than to have your guys who think that they're great get absolutely destroyed by the team that they're about to play as a challenge?
You're right. There's a
Channel
deeper
5
story to tell there. Well, hey, yeah, Channel 5.
Story.
I mean, if we're talking about the Wolves playing in the NBA Finals starting June 6th, guess what? Every game is on Channel 5 here in the Twin Cities, right? So I'm sure we'll be doing pregame, postgame, whatever it is, right? If we can drift ahead to June 6th. Unfortunately for us, TNT has exclusive coverage of the Western Conference Finals. So every Western Conference Finals game will be on TNT. Although how great will that be with Barkley, Ernie, the whole crew here in the Twin Cities for, whether it's games 3, 4, and 6 or 1, 2, 5, whatever it might be. Like, that'll be cool.
Oh, okay. We have to shout out a couple partners before we get to the last minute of Doogie's scoop bag here. Starting with Nicolay Law, the exclusive personal injury law firm of Flagrant Howls. So Nicolay Law, bunch of normal folks, T-shirt and jeans folks, as Judd found out when he met Russell Nicolay the other day. But he'll put a power suit on when it's time to represent you, obviously, on the big stage. But they're looking to get you the compensation you deserve after an unexpected accident. So if you've been injured, get Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers. Get Nicolay at nicolaylaw.com or give them a call at 1-855-NICOLAY. They're award-winning, and they're just normal, relatable folks, just like all of you out there. The difference is they have law degrees, and they know how to get you the compensation you deserve. nicolaylaw.com. Also, Dennis Kirk is here to support riding season. Whether you ride a motorcycle, an ATV, a UTV, a dirt bike, maybe you're looking ahead to snowmobile season in 7 months from now, you can get 185,000 parts, apparel, and accessories for whatever it is that you ride. Plus same-day shipping on orders placed before 8 p.m. Central. Free shipping on orders over $89. A ride finder tool, financing options, all sorts of great things at DennisKirk.com. Okay, Doogie, last minute here. Empty the rest of your scoop bag. What else do you have for us?
Well, Tyler Boyd off the board to the Tennessee Titans. I was asked a bunch, Phil, because somebody put it out there that, hey, the Vikings are in on Tyler Boyd. No, like in the moment they never were, and now in hindsight they just weren't. I'm not suggesting they're not going to add a receiver or some other free agent at some point here, but specifically on Boyd, the Vikings were never involved. Good player. Like, I could have made a case. Yes, they should have been interested, but the reality of the situation is the Vikings were never in on Tyler Boyd.
Okay. Good stuff here today, Dukes. Just a great
it's been fun. I mean, I'm so knee-deep in the Wolves. Now, hey, I checked again. No arbitration date set yet on the ownership front, but I'd love to tell you I've got all this Twins inside and Wild and Gopher football, whatever else, but I'm telling you, like, I'm fully immersed in all this Wolf stuff, and I'll be in Denver
Dex got the Twins,
for Game
dudes.
5 if there's a Game 5. What's
Dex
that?
is digging up. I said Dex has the Twins. Don't you concern yourself with the Twins, because Declan's digging up stuff.
Don't expect Justin Topa to be pitching in a Twins uniform anytime soon.
I was told, like, the knee's been bothering him, but do we have results of the MRI?
We don't have results of the MRI.
Because he was going to fight through it. That's what I was led to believe, that discomfort is discomfort. But if the MRI showed something is wrong, like, okay. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like, based on your intel, Declan, we won't see Tope anytime soon.
Yeah, he didn't feel good on Sunday. The velo is also still down. And by the way, he was dealing with this knee issue in Seattle towards the end of last year. So,
can they send him back? Return to
He
sender.
was good last year.
He was
still
very, he
wasn't
was
the
good
feature
last
of that
year. He
trade.
was.
No, the 19-year-old outfielder was the feature, but yeah, another damaged goods reliever. There's Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. He's going to go call his buddy Tom Crean back and talk for another 2 hours.
Unbelievable.
It was great. I'm telling you. I mean, I saw my Zoom clock ticking down. I'm like, oh no. But I had to. Like, I have this guy. Like, he knows everything, right, about college athletics, college basketball, and like we're talking Anthony, and then a little bit on just the Wolves as a whole. And I just said, hey, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about, because he brought up the portal at one point.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about NIL, the portal, and I cited the Elijah Hawkins example just because that's the world I live in. And he gave me a 7-minute long answer. It was gold, but I'm like, oh crap, I have Declan and Phil and Judd to get to, so I apologize for that.
It's all good, Dukes. We'll do it again next week. Great stuff. That's Darren Doogie Wolfson, D Wolfson, KSTP
All right, boys.
on Twitter.
See you at Target Center tomorrow night.
Sounds good. All
Okay.
right, that's a wrap here on this Reckless Speculation Thursday / scoop session on Minnesota sports with Mackie and Judd.